And we're going to start by setting the scene in the championship, where Lewis Hamilton was 2 points ahead of Felipe Massa with 5 rounds and therefore 50 points back in this era, still up for grabs. But our focus is on the man who was behind them, 18 points adrift of Hamilton, BMW Sauber's Robert Kubica. Kubica wasn't happy about how his title chances had drifted after he'd taken the lead in the standings when he won the Canadian Grand Prix in June, as just 3 months later, he was now an outsider. Heading into the Monza weekend, Kubica hinted that maybe the priority for the team is different from myself, saying he had a feeling that maybe I am the only stupid one or crazy one who is thinking about fighting for the championship this season. Kubica felt that BMW had started the season at the same level as McLaren and Ferrari, but had fallen behind after the early races, and now he felt the gap to the fastest car had become pretty big. Years later on F1's Beyond the Grid podcast, Kubica said that he couldn't speak openly in public about this during 2008, but he knew that as soon as he won in Canada, that was effectively the end of his season because BMW was run like a company. We had a target to win a race, and that's it. We won the race, so we focused on 2009. Karun, there was more to this over the Monza weekend that we'll come to next. Like, this story did rumble on behind the scenes, but do you think BMW was ready to fight McLaren and Ferrari for a championship in 2008 if they had kept that as their focus?
In terms of pure out-and-out pace, he was never quite there, was he? I think it was generally Ferrari and McLaren who were slightly in front, and you felt that on the weekends that they were being outscored by Kubica. It wasn't just in terms of outright pace. So I think Kubica was doing an outstanding job keeping himself in touching distance, and you could argue that post-Canada, I think there's a strong argument that they should have recognised, hang on a second, we've got a chance here, and they should have focused, because then you don't know, I guess, the answer to what I've just said in terms of could they have beaten them in terms of outright pace. So I think Mario Theissen has said in the past that no, we never really had the performance, there wasn't much we could have done, etc., etc. But I guess he would say that because he was one of the decision makers who decided we've hit our target and we're going to move to next year. So yeah, it's one of those things which you just never know in Formula One, right? Most drivers and teams get 1 or 2 opportunities to win a drivers' championship. Massa 2008 is a classic case in point. He never had that opportunity again. So when that chance comes, you have to try and grab it with both hands, which obviously Kubica was pretty vocal in saying that they didn't.
It's good that you mentioned Theissen there, because during the Monza weekend, Kubica had talks with his boss, Mario Theissen, over these frustrations. And Kubica didn't seem very impressed after the talk, saying there were no miracles that came out of it and that the situation had not changed, and nor had his view. He said, I am racing to win, and I've seen lately that I am losing the gap. Theissen said he was happy that Kubica was being so demanding, as that's what a driver needs to be to win a championship. He said the talks were constructive, later telling Autosport, which is probably you, John, that any suggestion of a rift between driver and team was totally exaggerated and made out of almost nothing. Theissen said years later that there were disputes with Kubica during 2008, as Robert was always suspicious that we took resources away from developing the current car. But Theissen believes BMW did more in-season development in 2008 than in prior years, and the problem wasn't a lack of updates, but that the updates were not working. Kubica's comments from the time seemed to back this up, although perhaps that was the party line at the time. At Monza, he said BMW had made some mistakes in choosing some new parts, adding, we always had new parts on the car, but they didn't give us the performance we were expecting. John, do you think this did some real damage to the relationship between Kubica and Theissen, or Kubica and the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think Robert is fiery, determined, and he knew that these opportunities don't come around every year. This was a golden chance to do it. It was an opportunity where McLaren and Ferrari weren't delivering the consistency needed, and BMW somehow had kind of hauled itself into that fight. And I think after Canada, Tyson's viewpoint that we were upgrading was true. They kept some developments coming, and they coming through, but the car itself was quite tricky. They'd been a bit lost at the start of testing. It wasn't coming together and wasn't doing what it said the wind tunnel would do. and they've pulled it in. And Robert, in his brilliance, had delivered these results. And I think he felt at the stage of Canada, it wasn't just a case of a standard upgrade program. It was, let's throw everything at this. We need to do every single ounce of development and upgrades that we can to give us a chance. And I think from Theisen's and BMW's perspective, it was, let's stick to the path. Kers is coming for 2.9. This is a golden chance for BMW to showcase new technology and be brilliant. And it didn't play out. Things were slipping away. The Kers ultimately proved to be a disaster for the team and opened the door to its exit. Kubica, even now, probably if you spoke to him, I saw an interview he did with GP Racing just a couple of years ago, still talks of his frustration at this missed opportunity. He couldn't foresee then how his F1 career would end, and it's sad it never reached the potential that it could have been. But that relationship will never be kind of mended, and that frustration will live with him forever. That there probably was a chance in 2.8 if they'd pulled everything forwards to do it, and they didn't take it.